MotoGP is finally back in 2025. We have the first Grand Prix of the weekend. It's happening in Thailand. Here's 5 things that we think you need to keep an eye on throughout the weekend, and some questions coming in from testing that might translate into the Grand Prix weekend. Now, as you know, through testing in Sepang and in Buriram, we have seen manufacturers take jumps, and maybe the one that surprised the most or has gained the most attention is Yamaha. Will we see Fabio Quartararo maybe challenge towards the front of the grid this weekend? In history, especially 2019, he was very fast around here. But the Yamaha has progressed in the years since, but he is very strong around here, remember. He had a really solid qualifying only 6 months ago, 5 months ago, when the Grand Prix was last here in 2024. He was unfortunately knocked off by Frankie Morbidelli in the race when it was wet, but he was in a good position, and it is expected to be pretty dry throughout the weekend. Have Yamaha sorted their rear grip issues when it gets to lack of grip on track? That's where they seem to struggle. We'll find out in practice really where they lie, but I would suggest to keep an eye on Fabio Quartararo and the other Yamahas as well. Of course, you've got Miguel Oliveira, Jack Miller, who are on the satellite Pramac, well, not satellite, they're a factory team essentially now, and also Alex Rins, who's Quartararo's teammate in the factory Monster Energy setup. They will surprise, I think. It's a key indicator to see how they go in the early laps of practice and into the later sessions that we get throughout the weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Fabio Quartararo challenging around the top 5 this weekend. So keep that in mind. Of course, the big news, Jorge Martin, the world champion, isn't going to be around for the next few rounds, at least, after suffering another injury on Monday in a training incident. He broke his left hand this time, and he will be out for, like I say, we don't know when. Aprilia have said they're not really expecting a timeline to give everyone accurately for Jorge when he'll be back. It's a real shame after that terrible crash that he had in testing, only after 14 laps at Sepang. He injured himself there, and like I say, recovering, getting out training again, expecting to be back this weekend. He won't be here. We are sending our support to Jorge and wishing him a speedy recovery. A fact though, going back to 1984, Freddie Spencer crashed in practice of the opening round of the 1984 season, and he missed the start of the season. So it's the first time a world champion since 1984 will not start the first Grand Prix. Will Aprilia be okay though? Now, they did show promise with Marco Bezzecchi in testing around Buriram, especially. You know, Bezzecchi does like the circuit. That's no secret. And his sprint simulation was very fast. He would have been first in a sprint if he had have ran it last year. And he also played down his expectations to the media today. Our colleague Pete McLaren is out there, and we've heard his debrief. He is firmly expecting just to quietly go about his business and not put any expectation on Aprilia's plans, their targets. I think it's a real sort of group effort to rally around Bezzecchi while Martin is out to try and get that bike in the best possible shape for Martin when he comes back. But yeah, Bezzecchi, I think he could be a challenger for the podium, whether it's in the sprint of the Grand Prix. I'd rather say it would be in the sprint that he would maybe challenge for a podium. But who knows? Who knows the conditions that we're going to get throughout this weekend? They look like they're going to be really hot. And the Aprilia in the past has struggled with heat issues. Didn't really hear so much of that in testing. It seems that they've kind of got around that issue. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Bezzecchi near the front of the grid. Speaking of surprises, who will be the rider that will surprise most? I'm going to put my guess out there. I think it's going to be a Honda rider, and I think it's going to be the 2020 MotoGP World Champion, Joan Mir. Yes, it is only testing, but we did see positive results in both Sepang and, of course, at Buriram. Mir done a very fast sprint simulation, and I think he understood the direction they needed to go in after 2 years of being on a project where it looks like Mir has not let his head drop and his confidence go, but it seems like this year he's stepped up to be Honda's leader, as he should be, as you know, a MotoGP World Champion, a rider who, I mean, he's achieved the pinnacle in the sport. Whether you're going to argue he's only won one Grand Prix or not, He's still a world champion and a multiple world champion, not to forget, of course, winning in Moto 3 back in 2017. He will be a surprise, I think. There's a lot of quiet optimism. He kind of said that his expectation is low, but he's in a good mood heading into the weekend. And he also did say that he has top 5 pace. So he kind of said he wants to play expectation down, but he feels that he can challenge for the top 5. I wouldn't be surprised, but the Honda for me is the biggest outlier here. Are they really going to solve the grip issues similar to Yamaha, only on a different scale? They struggle way more in lack of grip situations. The track should rubber in if there's no rain, but the heat, grip, top speed of the Honda's low compared to the rest. Let's see what happens, but I think Mir will be a surprise this weekend. I hope he is, because I like to see the world champions fighting towards the front. Who'll be the fastest rookie heading into the weekend? Now, that is a good question. There's really 2 out of the 3. No disrespect to Somkat Chandra. I think he's in a difficult position. His first MotoGP race is his home race. A lot of expectation there. And he is riding the worst bike, as you could say, in the Honda. So it falls on Ayagura and Fermin Aldeguer, who are both riding for Trackhouse Aprilia, and Grassini Racing on a Ducati for Fermin Aldeguer. I think it'll be Ayagura who'll be the fastest out of the rookies this weekend. He's looked so good in testing. He looks really comfortable, and he has not the temperament, I would say. He's a very chilled out person. He is a person who I think it comes through naturally on a MotoGP bike. I think he looks so tidy, natural, compared to where he was at his first test. He looks like a natural fit for that bike, and I think he can surprise. I'm going to say it now. I think one of the 2 rookies, either Aldeguer or Agura, will get into Q2. Who it'll be? I think, do you know what? I'm going to stick a prediction out here. I think both will get into Q2. Whether that be automatically through practice or one comes through in Q1, or both come through in Q1 if they're both in there. I think they'll both be in Q2, and I think they'll both score points in both races. That is a bold statement from me, but I do think this rookie crop, especially Agura and Aldeguer, are pretty outstanding riders. So yeah, let's have a look and see how they go throughout the weekend, because they've had testing time here, and usually in the first Grand Prix, as you come into a track that you do know, rookies do tend to perform pretty well. And of course, the big question, the battle at the front. Who is it going to be? Marc Marquez versus Pecco Bagnaia in the factory Ducati setup. Judging by testing, Marc Marquez looks the clear favourite. His full race simulation that he'd done on the last day of testing a few weeks ago was simply outstanding. Pecco Bagnaia kept his cards close to his chest. He didn't venture into the simulation runs that much compared to Marquez, but I think Bagnaia saves it for a race weekend, and I expect an epic battle between these 2. First race of the season, wanting to lay a marker down, new teammates. I think they're going to be absolutely hammer and tong at each other, and I can't wait for it. If you're going to ask me who I think is going to win as a prediction, judging by from what we've seen in the press side and how both have talked about each other, they're both playing it down. But I think Marc Marquez starts as slight favourite, but Pecco Bagnaia, I think, will deliver an outstanding qualifying time, as he always does. He is the lap record holder around this circuit. Marquez, I think he was a tenth and a half off his best in testing. So yeah, they're set up nicely. That GP 24.5, 0.9, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the bike to beat. And I think it's going to be Marc Marquez that will win the Grand Prix. But I think Pecco Bagnaia will win the sprint. So yeah, let's see what happens as we head into Thailand this weekend. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button below. Subscribe if you're brand new. Head across to our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere there. Subscribe, follow, and we'll see you around next week for another video. Take care.